I spoke to him late last season, and obviously we all know it was a disaster, and he was part of that. You know, as much as the flack that LeBron got for his part in the team's lack of success last year, Rondo did some things that didn't bring a lot of honor to the franchise, sitting on the bench with the stands in the middle of a blowout. Yeah. But he's been instrumental to their success. I have to imagine they would want to bring him back, if only for the reason that he is a bridge between LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He has an independent relationship with Anthony, as does LeBron, and it gives them another voice in that locker room, another strong perspective from experience. Think back to the most pivotal moment in these playoffs for the Lakers. Anthony Davis hitting the game winner at the end of the conference finals game 2 against Denver. The only reason that happens is Rajon Rondo checks himself into the game and is the trigger man. And if it was someone else, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope passing that ball in or anybody else, they would feel the pressure to run the play and get it to LeBron James. Right. But Rajon Rondo made the correct basketball play, found an open Anthony Davis, and the Lakers used that to get their momentum all the way to the NBA Finals.
Well, look, it's all about what the market is for a player. Like, with that player option, the Lakers are going to keep him because he's undervalued right there. I'm saying, like, he's a very, very good bargain. So I think it's up to Rondo and what he wants. Like, this is at a time in his career where, if they're fortunate enough to win the championship and he's accomplished that, he's accomplished pretty much everything that you can accomplish. So it just depends on what type of role he wants to be in.
It's so crazy, though, when you think back to just a few years ago, you were on the Dallas team that asked him to leave during the playoffs.
Well, asking him, telling him, like there's a range. And look, I stand by this. Like I love being Rondo's teammate. Extremely intelligent, hard worker, wants to win. And so I understand where there was a little bit of a conflict there, but I think he's where he wants to be. And I'm not going to lie, even when we were playing in Dallas, he wanted to be in L.A. He said that when we were in Dallas. Okay. He's been saying it for years. So I think he's found a home. Just a matter of not if he wants to stay here.
And look, we talk so much about Jimmy Butler and fit. It's just the truth. I mean, I say it all the time, right? The top 10% of guys in the league could play anywhere. The bottom 10% of guys in the league probably shouldn't play anywhere. Yeah. But that middle 80%, they either maximize or not, depending on fit. Rajon Rondo has a great fit with those players and this team.
I mean, after LeBron and Anthony Davis, who's been the third most impactful player for the Lakers this postseason run? I would say Rondo. Obviously, he wasn't there for the first round against Portland, coming back from back spasms and that broken thumb. But ever since the Houston series on forwards, he has been so instrumental. And it's not just that play against Denver. It is the way he's gotten Markieff Morris going in the second unit, their camaraderie together. Yeah. And then it's quite frankly, the voice that he has in film sessions. I was told by a team source yesterday the Lakers had an off day, but they still had a team film session. And the two most vocal players, LeBron James, Rajon Rondo, both being very intense and engaged, according to a source.
Well, yeah.
All right, well, I want to get to another guy on the roster who's had his career certainly changed over the course of this season, Dwight Howard, right? Huge compliment from former Laker, meta world peace. He's always going to be Ron Artest to me, sorry. Coach Vogel did a great job giving Dwight some shine as a starter. L.A., we put Dwight through a lot in his first stint. He had back surgery. We still bashed him. He had a disc the size of a flat softball removed from his back. Anyway, this is great to cement his legacy. Dwight replied to this piece to thank him. It was a pretty nice moment, right? And for our younger viewers, right? Should we just share?
Just share.
If you don't know who Ron Artest is, starter, of course, for that last Laker title team back in 2010. Much like Dwight in the present, he had a very, let's just say, difficult path to get to that point. Yeah. That title was a bit of a redemption story, right, for him. And look at Dwight's career path. He began on that Hall of Fame trajectory with the Orlando Magic right here in this city, 2004 to 2012. He was the one who led them to their last finals appearance in 2009. Of course, all those Defensive Player of the Year awards in 2012 traded to the Lakers. That one-year experiment to play with Kobe, Pau Gasol, and Steve Nash did not work. Signed with the Rockets in 2013. Did not work with James Harden either. Dwight bounced around from team after team after that. Did not work. I could just keep saying that over and over again until he got to that non-guaranteed deal at the start of this season. Dwight, I'm so fascinated by the parallel between him and Ron, and you covered that team. How do you see Dwight, if he is able to win a title, starting in the NBA Finals?
It was a disaster of a season. I can't underscore that enough. And Dwight Howard was a huge part of it. It was oil and water between him and Kobe Bryant, the stage of their career, their approach to life in general. But quite frankly, Dwight didn't get enough credit for the way he played through injuries. I saw a picture of that disc that Ron is referring to. It was gruesome. And he played through that. He played through a torn labrum that season. But the maturity side wasn't there. This year, he's a different guy. He's a breath of fresh air. And he's stayed by his word from the start. He said, I want to earn it. Don't give me a guaranteed contract. Let me prove that I am as important to this franchise as this franchise is to me in this stage of my life. And here he was, even before the bubble started. He had some reservations about coming down here. The mother of one of his children passed away during the hiatus, and that's a tough thing to deal with. But he wanted to see through his commitment to the franchise, and here he is, a starter on a team that's one win away from the finals, from the championship.
Yeah, and it's so impressive because he knew what he had to do. And I think a lot of those stops that he had over the course of those years, he always felt like it wasn't his fault, or there were things that could have been handled differently. But I think when he got here, he focused on himself. What can I do to help? Versus like, hey, I want to come here. I need post touches. I need points. I need minutes. I need all of these different things because that's who I am. It's like, hey, I get here and I want to see how I can help. And look, we saw it also this year with Carmelo Anthony. Taking a step back from like what you once were and getting to a spot of I just want to play this game that I love and I want to contribute to a good team. And Dwight was so impressive this year. Look at what he did last round against Jokic. He was a huge reason why the Lakers were able to play and advance in that series. So I'm extremely happy for him. And I think this is a lesson to a lot of guys. As they get older, you got to change your mindset, and then you'll get the success that you want.
And I think it's so interesting, too, when we talk about quote-unquote redemption stories, right? It's nice. So the Lakers are one win away from a return to the NBA Finals. That doesn't mean for sure that they'll get there. The Nuggets still have two big-time stars on their roster and a team that's returned from the dead so many times it should replace its rainbow logo with a zombie. But at least last night, LA looked like, well, an NBA Finals-bound team with all the traditional roles and storylines. They have a generational player in his prime in Anthony Davis. They have a walking, talking redemption story in Dwight Howard and a wily veteran in Rajon Rondo. And they have LeBron James, who, despite being 3 months shy of his 36th birthday, still has the most superstar quality of all. He is able to deliver exactly what his team needs, exactly when they need it. Last night, that meant stopping Jamal Murray, who continues to treat every one of these Western Conference Finals games like it's a trick shot compilation video. I mean, come on.
This was nasty. I'm going to go and say it. That one was harder than MJ's. That one was harder.
Come on.
No, because MJ was going baseline, so the angle works. This one, you're coming straight on, and you're trying to get to the other side. People, I'm not saying he's better than MJ. Let's not start at that. I'm saying that variation might have been a smidge more difficult than MJ's.
It was so good. And then in the fourth quarter, Murray scoring 6 points in 2 minutes, including this over 6'10" Anthony Davis. Come on. Come on.
That was third. That was his third most impressive shot.
Right. Okay. Well, then what about this one? Take a look at this next one because this spin left-handed.
This is the most impressive one of them all. Look at that. And he didn't even bank it in. That he actually made it. And you see him put it over to his left hand and actually shoot it. Like he's shooting it with touch as falling down. Like, come on. That's one of the most difficult shots we've seen in the postseason.
Ridiculous. After that shot, that is when LeBron went to Lakers coach Frank Vogel and asked if he could start checking Jamal. And from that point on, well, they can go great for Jamal. LeBron chased Murray through screens, right? He shut down Murray at the rim more than once. Here he goes again. Now, are some of these actually fouls? Well, the Nuggets say yes. In fact, after the Lakers used the league's refereeing website after Game 3 to ask about plays where they thought LeBron should have gotten to the free throw line, Denver coach Mike Malone is now saying he has done the same on the behalf of Murray. But that's not going to change anything for the Nuggets in the win-loss column. And honestly, there were a lot of reasons the Lakers came out ahead last night. There was Dwight, who paid off his new spot in the starting lineup by dominating the boards early and finishing with a double-double. There was Anthony Davis, who dropped 34, including the Lakers' first 10 points, paying off a promise he'd made to himself after playing poorly in the series' previous game. Now, I later asked LeBron what he was looking for with Anthony in the off day between the two games, and here was his answer.
You just see how low his brow is. If his brow is really low, then you know not to talk to him. If it's higher, then he's accepted the fact that you allowed to come into his office and talk to him. Yesterday, his brow was very low in this part, and no one talked to him. So we already knew the mindset that it was in, and he came out and did it.
Came out and did it indeed. And so did Rondo, who with 7 assists last night passed Scottie Pippen to move to 8th on the NBA's all-time playoff list. Rondo also provided 11 points and 5 rebounds, as well as just his usual stabilizing presence, something that Davis in particular seems to feed off of. Remember, Rondo and AD first played together in New Orleans a few years ago. And last night, AD spoke again of just how important Rondo is to him.
When I got traded here, he was actually the first person I called, and told him that, I wanted him to come back, because I knew how much I excel with him and how much of a leader he is and his mindset on the floor and his will to win.
To win a championship, or even just to get to a finals, a team needs all kinds of characters, all kinds of contributors. The Lakers, well, they're still one win away, but last night, they certainly looked the part. Richard, how are these bubble playoffs, do you think, impacting the legacies of both Rondo and Dwight Howard?
Well, this is my thing. I don't think they're really impacting them at all, because I think who they are is already been established. I think Dwight Howard is a Hall of Famer. Right now, he's missing that championship, and he is a contributor on this team if they're able to win a championship. So I believe that will elevate them. But I think what their legacy will only change if they win a championship, and Rondo wins another championship. So, right now, nothing has been really affected about their quote-unquote legacy. If they win a championship, then I think that's where the changes will happen. But getting to the finals, even Rondo said they don't celebrate those in Boston. They don't celebrate conference finals in Boston. He said that. And you know what? They don't celebrate conference finals or NBA finals. They don't celebrate that in LA. They only celebrate championships.
I don't know. I do want to be careful with that line of reasoning, only because Doc Rivers, when the Clippers were up 3-1 to get to the conference finals, a place the Clippers organization had never been before, he said, "Oh, that's not the larger goal. The larger goal is way beyond that. No one's going to celebrate." And then we know what happened. Every step is a good step, Richard. Every step is important. I mean, Brian, what do you think about their legacies here?
Yeah, I'm agree with Richard that, it's not like Rondo is going to be remembered for what he's doing in this playoff run, but it's a reminder that there's always time in the NBA. It's one of the things that you learn. The longer you are around the league, you learn there's always time. Careers are long. Series are long. Games are long. Things can happen. And a year ago, I thought Dwight Howard maybe was done with the NBA. He had washed out with 3 teams in a row, and he had been injured. Here he is making a major contribution to a team that's going for a championship. And Rondo, midway through this season, there were people around the Lakers who were saying he should be benched, and now he's arguably their 3rd most important player. So it's just a reminder to everybody out there about how long careers are and how you can still change the story around you when
First
you still
of all,
got
that
time.
off-the-back inbounds is still amazing to see. And I'm going to take issue with both of you, especially Richard, who's just dropping things all over this arena, Brian, which is this. You mentioned Dwight Howard. You thought maybe he was out of the league a year and a half ago. Rajon Rondo, let me remind you guys, by the way, kicked out of Dallas, basically.
I was there.
I
was there.
Wasn't that during the playoffs, Richard?
Yes, I was there.
Right?
I was there.
So there is definitely.
I was there. It was